Begin the current Daf Mesech Kesuvos Daf Nun Zayin. Begin on the bottom line of Daf Nun Vav Beis. The Gemara continues the discussion of the previous Daf regarding this halacha that we had from Reb Meir and his dispute with the Rabbanan regarding if a person could diminish the amount of his ksuba. Reb Meir held that no, you cannot go ahead and do anything less, and that relates to a discussion, well-known situation that happens if a woman doesn't know where her ksuba is. That comes up in today's daf. That's actually where we resume from previous regarding what the halacha is. You have to always be confident knowing that you're having exactly your ksuba. That's the minimum amount that you need to have. Shiur corresponds to any time today's daf. Something is discussed in today's daf, like we mentioned, the machlekes remain the chacham if a marriage is legitimate without a ksuba. Opinion to machlekes, which is actually very technical. We have to pay attention a little bit regarding the actual words. Machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi we had in the brisa from the previous daf regarding masnal pet, and she begins verbally. Although Rabbi Yehuda said that you could actually do less than the 200 by writing, oh, I already received half the amount. Rabbi said you don't even have to write, you could be masna. The Gemara discuss exactly how to qualify the machlekes. We continued with the next mission of Nisim Besula Shnai Mesachaydish, that we give a Besula 12 months to prepare ourselves. What happens if it says the Mishnah Giz Mambalei Nisu? Let's say the 12 months have already come by. And what happens then? And they didn't get married. Then she now eats from his property and she eats the truma, and that's a biblical halacha. We'll discuss exactly why in Arus is prohibited to eat truma midrabanan. That's it either because she might give her brothers to drink from the truma drink that her chasa gave her, or Mishum Simfin, as we'll see in the Gemara exactly what Simfin is, because he might find something a flaw with her, and turns out that she wasn't really his wife. But some chadaita is the concept that if a woman's not confident with the ksuba, then like Rameya says, it's bilas nus. Is that anyone makes a stipulation against what the Torah says, his condition is void, meaning the action is going to be valid, but the condition, the stipulations are going to be void. That the sages, they made more strength for their opinion more than the halacha of biblical law. Now, in the previous daf, we had quoted Rameya that says, if you give a psula less than 200 zuz or almana haris bilas nus, it's like you're being mezana. Why are you married? No, she's not confident because since he tried to reduce it, she feels insecure. Even if she can end up getting it, Rameya says it's like a bilas nus. So now the Gemara compares this to the following case as we begin on the last line of Vav Beis. The sister of Rabbi Bachama, Havas Nesivis Rabavia, was married to Rabavia. So continue on top of Nanzayin Medal. Irkas, she lost the document of Ksubasa. Of her Ksuba, oh yeah, they were moving this net, she doesn't know where her Ksuba is. This is that classic situation. Also, they came with Rabbi Yosef. Amlu, he said to them as follows. Hachi Amar B'Huda Mishmol, this is what Rabbi Mishmol says. Zu Divrei Reb Meir, meaning, the Mishnah that we quoted the halacha that says if you diminish for Besula less than 200, even in just condition, and the condition is void, we still call the bilas nus, even if she's going to get 200, simply because she's not confident. So you would say the same thing over here. According to a mayor, it's forbidden for a person to be with a woman for one moment if she lost her ksuba, even if she's going to get it, which she's not going to lose, because she's actually going to collect her ksuba anyway because of Tanai Bezdin. So who cares where the document is? Oh, I don't know where the ksuba is. Who cares? But she's not confident. She says, I'm going to try to get the ksuba from him tomorrow when we get divorced or whatever. And he's going to say, I paid you already. So she's not confident anymore because she doesn't have the ksuba document. So therefore, it's a bias nos. So you would think the same thing over here. The woman lost her ksuba and she's going crazy, whatever. So he says, that's only Reb Meir. Abba Chachamim, the sages, they say, we're not concerned about smichas das. We don't care about if she's confident or not that it should be considered as a bilas nus. So therefore, the Chacham hold masha ad mes ishta, a person could remain with his wife 2 or 3 years without a ksuba. It's not a problem that she lost her ksuba according to the Chacham. Which only Abai says, wait a second. But Balmer of Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Rav Nachman said, name of Shmuel, halacha could Remei big zaydoisav. We rule like Remei when it comes to the halacha of the rabbinic decrees. That he's stringent on biblical law regarding Isvaheta through rabbinic zera, which is the halacha over here of the ksuba. So why you tell me that we rule like the Chachamim and they hold 2-3 years, but we rule like Reb Meir? So on that he responded, you're right. If that's the case, still cause of law, go write her another ksuba. Which Rashi says, in this that we have in the mission of Nanal from an Alf, that says that if he did not write for a ksuba, then the Pesula gets 200, and we said that's like Remeir, who holds that you have to always have 200. Says Rashi, that's in a place where they don't write a Ksuba, where everyone is relying on the conditions that are there from the Takanas Bezdin. So there's no problem over there. Or you could say it's even the place where they write a Ksuba, and yes, according to Remeir, you're going to collect 200 Zulas, but it's still going to be a Bilas Nusa this. So you have to have a Ksuba. So therefore he says, you're right, go ahead and write a Ksuba, because you're right, if we rule like Remeir, then you can't even be one moment without the Ksuba. Now, from the previous Daf, the Gemara is going to qualify, again, a little bit complex in how to be able to say it. We had this machlekes that we quoted in the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda had said, as we explained in the Gemara, that if you're going to make this condition, yes, they don't hold the Remeir that you have to have 200. They hold you can do less, but there was a machlekes, is it has to be in writing, or could even be orally. According to Yehuda, if it's done orally, the Tanai is going to be bottled because you're being Masa Masha Kasabataira. You're making a stipulation. It's not like you wrote a receipt. She could write a receipt that said you already received 100, even though she did. But if you're going to say orally, it's okay, I don't need 200, I'll take 100. Rabbi that says, no, that's a double shabbat, even though it's meaning, so we said that, we had this machlekes regarding, what the halacha is, they all agree, kol masla mashu chaz b'tayr b'dav b'shem moments nice kind. The question was, did they make a chizuk l'devrei and yisim mishal tayr or not? That was machlekes regarding making a tanai on this rabbinic halacha of the ksuba. Now, the Gemara now introduces how to qualify their machlekes. Kasser Avdimi, Amr B'Shim Ben Pazim, Mishum Ben Levi, Mishum Ben Karpara. So this is Rav Dimi, his version of Rav Shimon, and that's important because we're going to have another Amayra that's going to say differently. But Rav Dimi's version of Rav Shimon ben Pazi and Rav Shimon Levi and Rav Kapara says like this. It says the machlekes to Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi from the price of the previous daf. That Rabbi Yehuda said that if you're going to do this orally, even though Rabbi Yehuda usually holds, it could be masna mashakas b'tevah davar shabbat. We're on a monetary law. If you say, let's say, I don't want to give you clothing and food when we get married, that's okay. But by the ksuba, which is rabbinic law, we're actually more stringent than regarding biblical law. And Rabbi Yehuda says you cannot make a condition on the ksuba. And Rabbi Yossi held, no, you could make it tonight. It doesn't hold to this concept that we're being machzik the rabbinic law more than the Divrei Torah. That machlekes is only betchila, in the beginning, which Gemara is going to explain very shortly. What does it mean, the beginning of what? But these are the words of Rav Dimi, in quoting Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg. Al b'soif, but at the end, the Divrei HaKol, according to everyone, meaning according to even to Rabbi Yossi, who he was the most lenient, and he held, yeah, you can make up 100, even though she's supposed to get 200, you guys can make up 100. No, even Rabbi Yossi would agree, in Mecheles, she cannot pardon him anymore from the amount of 200 because she already acquired the rights at the end, and therefore her statement is nothing unless she writes a receipt. She writes a receipt, I received it already. Okay, shkayach, you already wrote a receipt, fine. But to make up now, it's already too late. Everyone would agree that she cannot be meichel. That's what Rabbi Shua ben Levi holds. Again, this Rav Dimi's version of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Yechanan, he says, no, bein bezu machlekes. By both cases, the beginning and the end, machlekes Rabbi Yossi Yehuda, can you make a condition to give less than the 200? Okay. On that Ravo said, it says, I heard from Rabbi Yechanan that Rabbi Shua ben Levi, although we just quoted Rabbi Dimi as quoting machlekes Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Ravo heard from Rabbi Yechanan that he says that me and Rabbi Shua ben Levi loy plagin adadi. We actually don't disagree. What does that mean? Because although it seemed to be explicitly disagreement. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said the machlekes Rabbi Yossi is only in the beginning and not at the end. Rabbi Yechanan says no, by the beginning and end is a machlekes. He says no, we're not disagreeing. Because my betchili from Rabbi Shua ben Levi, when Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that the machlekes is only in the beginning, you know what he meant? The beginning of what? Tchilas chuppah. The beginning of the chuppah. At that point is when they write the ksubah. That's when they have the machlekes. Umay seif. And what's the end? That according to everyone you cannot be meichel anymore, even according to Rabbi Yossi. That's seif biyah. That's the end of the cohabitation. So essentially, what they're both saying is that from the beginning of chuppah till the end of chuppah is the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. But the moment he has biyah with her, Rabbi Yossi agrees that she can't say anymore, oh, you don't have to give me 200, only one. She already has the rights of 200. She can't be pardoning that anymore. She can write a receipt, but she cannot pardon anymore. Ki kamina anosas. When did I say bein bezu machlekes? The machlekes is both beginning and the end. I wasn't going on the word seif of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that at the end everyone agrees, and I'm saying no is machlekes. My end is not the same as his end. Mine is tchilas chuppah b'soif chuppah. I was saying that everyone disagrees the beginning of a chuppah and the end of the chuppah to hit tchilas bia, which that's the equivalent of the beginning of the bia. There, everyone agrees that there's going to be a machlekes. Can she make this tonight or not? But at the end of bia, it's too late already. Everyone agrees to that same principle. So according to Rav Dimi, he quotes a machlekes Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg and Rabbi Yochanan, and then we have Rabbi Bo saying that no, Rabbi Yochanan told me that we're not disagreeing. There's a difference what they mean when they say the word seif. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the word seif is seif chuppah, and according to Rabbi Shloimy says that everyone agrees as seif bia, which is much later. That's what everyone agrees. That's version number one. However, Kiyasar Ravan, when Ravan came along, another Amleira, he said this differently. He says, again, he's quoting Shem Pazi, he says, machlekes lebis seif. So he's coming from the other angle, and he's going to say it differently. He says the machlekes that Rabbi Yehuda, don't get confused who we say machlekes in, because we have a tier of who we're talking about. The machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi from the previous daf, who they were talking about, can you just make a condition on the ksuba that we don't want it to be 200, we want it to be 100. I'm okay, I'm the woman and I'm okay being 100. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's not okay. Again, although he'll zabish about and you could usually make it tonight, rabbinic law more stringent. He says, no, we're not more stringent, you can make that up. Their whole machlekes is at the end. Again, whatever end means. Al betchila, but in the beginning, so we're going the other way around. In the beginning, divar kol mocheles. Although he said, obviously the end is more reason to say that she cannot be Michael anymore, because it's already a done deal. And the beginning is more reason to say she can be Michael because nothing happened yet. So Rav Ravin is saying differently than Rav Dimi. He's saying that, you know what Rav Shimon Levi said? He says the machlekes is only at the end, but in the beginning, everyone agrees she can be Michael. Rabbi Yochanan, he says, no, beimizu machlekes. Machlekes is both by the beginning and at the end. And in this version too, we have a Amar Bavo that says L'didim Mefarsh L'medid Rabbi Yochanan. He says, I heard from Rabbi Yochanan that no, Rabbi Shimon Levi L'bagin Adami. We're actually not disagreeing. You want to know why? My libisayv to Rabbi Shimon Levi. When Rabbi Shimon Levi says the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi is only at the end, which end was he saying? There was Soif Chuppah, the end of Chuppah. Umay Tchila. And what was the beginning that he said that no one's going to disagree that she could be Michael at that point? Is Tchilas Chuppah, is the beginning of Chuppah. But when did I say machlekes? The machlekes is both in the beginning and at the end? I wasn't even talking about chuppah. I was talking about tchilas bia, which is the equivalent of soif chuppah, which is where yes, Shimon Levi agrees is the machlekes, and the soif bia, which for sure, according to everyone, is the machlekes. This that Rabbi Shimon Levi was saying in the beginning, everyone agrees that she could be Michael. And I'm saying to my colleagues, I wasn't going on Tchilas Chuppah, I was going on Tchilas Bia, which is like his Saif Chuppah, and therefore, me and Shimon Levi are not disagreeing. Okay? So you have two versions of the Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Shimon Levi in the Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Okay. One more step. Amar Papa. Papa says, I wouldn't be okay to explain Ilav da Amar Bavo. Had Rabbi not said, L'didim mefarsh liminid Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi said, to me it was explained from Rabbi Yochanan that he said that no Rabbi Shimon Levi lepagin adadi. He says, we're not really disagreeing. We're talking about different terminologies. Says Rav Papa, if not for Rabbi saying this, you know what I would have said? That no, it's not true. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon Levi, they actually are polik. They actually do disagree. And the seif that Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg was talking about, that according to everyone, even according to Rabbi Yossi, you cannot be Michael, on that Rabbi Yochanan is coming to say that no, there is a machlekes in that case. Whereas, Rav Dimi v'Ravin loy pli. Actually, I would have said that the other way around. Rabbi Yochanan and Shlomo Levi are disagreeing, and Rav Dimi and Ravin are not disagreeing in what does Rabbi Shlomo Levi and Rabbi Yochanan hold. And I would have explained my seif to Ka'amar Ravin. When Ravin says again, he was the second version of this whole discussion. He said that when Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi says the machlekes is by the soif, that is soif chuppah, which is the beginning of bia, which is also what Rav Dimi had said was the machlekes. And I would have said, to come Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi says that, Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi says the machlekes is in the beginning, I would have said, you know what that is? That's tchilas bia, which that's the equivalent of soif chuppah. But soif bia, according to everyone, she cannot be Michael. So everyone, Rav Dimi and Rava, would be saying the same thing in Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi. All the way in the beginning, you could be Michael. All the way at the end, you cannot be Michael. And their machlekes is that middle place of Seif Chuppah and Tchilas Bia. Now, Rabbi Yochanan would disagree on Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi, and he would hold that no, that the machlekes is even on Seif Bia. But Tchilas Chuppah, like we're saying, everyone would agree that you can be Michael. So according to where Rav Papa is saying it, he says, I could have said it, that Rav Dimi and Ravin are really not disagreeing. These are the later Amaram. They're not disagreeing what Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi is saying and what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. They're both in agreement. They're just talking about different elements of it. One saying the extreme of the beginning, one saying the extreme of the end. Now, he says that, but now that Rabbi Vo had explained in Rav Dimi that both Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi are disagreeing in, meaning that they to explain, to resolve, he wanted to say that Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi are not disagreeing, comes out that Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda are disagreeing in the beginning of Chuppah and at the end of Chuppah. So then obviously Ravin and Rav Dimi are disagreeing. Why? Because Ravin said that by Tchilas Chuppah, everyone holds you could be Michael. So Rav Papa, fine. If not for Rabbi Vo, that the way he had, the only way he could be Miyashim, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi, was then to make Rabbi Dimi and Ravin disagree. So he says, if not for him saying that, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said that, no, Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi and Rabbi Yochanan are disagreeing, and Ravin and Rabbi Dimi are not disagreeing about it. So says the Gemara, okay, my Kamash Malan, what are you letting us know when you're saying, if not Rabbi Vo having said this, but Rabbi Vo did say it. And obviously he doesn't want to disagree with Rabbi Vo. So what halach is he telling us? Had he not said this, that I would have preferred to say it in a different way, but you're not saying it, so why are you saying this? So the Gemara says, how Kamash Malan, nobody's coming to tell us. It's a very important principle. When you find Amoram who disagree with each other, each one saying his own thing, and then you have two Amoram that are disagreeing in explaining that machlokes Amoram, and we could explain it in two different ways. In one approach, the two Amoram are disagreeing, where each one is saying his own svar. Like for example, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi. Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi, okay, it's okay. Rabbi Yochanan holds that the machlokes was one way of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Shloimy holds it was another way. And the other two Amoram, meaning Rav Dimi and Ravin, they would hold that they're not disagreeing in what each one is saying. They're saying the same thing, just different parts of it. But then you have another approach, where actually two Amoram are disagreeing in what the prior Amora was saying, like Rav Dimi and Ravin, where they are saying, what did they say? They're disagreeing on what did they say. So that's what the Papa was coming to tell us. He says, we leave the version of saying that two Amoram are disagreeing in what one said, and we're going to say, the Pligi Tere Amaroi, at time of the Nafshaihu. We would prefer to say that the two Amoram are disagreeing in their own principles, that we're not having two Amoram disagreeing on what one Amora said. Because when you have two opinions going according to one Manda Amar, where Rav Dimi is saying one thing, this is what Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shloimy ben Levi said. And the other one saying, no, this is what he said. One of them is lying. One of them is obviously false. But when you have two Amoram that disagree in a din, or something what's permitted or what's forbidden, each one is saying, I think this is the understanding. There's no lies. Each one is able to say his logic. And he's saying a reason why it should be permitted. He's saying a reason why it should be forbidden. And each one's comparing it to a different element. This is what we have, old psak halacha of machlokes. There's no one lying. You could say, and that's Dibel Kimachayim. Moshe says, Kli Shlishiyah. He says no, and that's okay. No one's lying. This is a different perspective and different logic in those halachic principles. And it's applicable something to say this reason, something that reasoning. And yes, logic could go either way. So what Rabbi was trying to say was, if not for Rabbi Vo, I wouldn't have said, he's letting you know something, not just being passive aggressive, saying, oh, how did he not say, how he's saying, I'm sorry. No, he's saying something very important. He wants you to know, Rabbi Vo obviously had a reason why he's saying it. I'm not going to disagree with him. But in general, in principle, if you could say that Rab Dimi and Ravan are not disagreeing, and they both agree how to interpret Yeshua and Leib and Yechon, they're just telling you different angles. One was talking about the beginning, that everyone would agree, and one was talking about the end, that everyone would agree the other way, and that the machlek is in the middle, and they're both saying the same thing, and actually then you have to say Yechon and Yeshua and Leib are disagreeing. I would prefer that, because why can't Yechon and Yeshua and Leib disagree? They're each saying their own principle. I prefer that over the way Rabbi Vo was saying it. Because the way Rabbi Vo was saying it, great, he's saying Yechon and Yeshua and Leib are saying the same thing, but now you know what ends up happening is that Rav Dimi and Ravin are disagreeing in what did they say. One of them is lying. That is the principle Rabbi was teaching us when he was saying, he loved Rabbi Vo, then I would have said, not like him, that's what he's teaching. And again, that was the machlekes regarding this machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yesi, which, what is exactly the machlekes? What is a machlekes of Yechon Shubal Leib, it was a machlekes of Dimi and Ravin, in that, how do we interpret their machlekes regarding if the woman could be Meichel on the Kesuvos of 200, which we had Rabbi Yesi saying, yeah, they can make it up, Rabbi Yesi saying, no, they cannot. Machlek, exactly when did we say that? Regarding Tchilas Chuppah, Seif Chuppah, Tchilas Biyah, Seif Biyah, when exactly did we say that? Now look at the next Mishnah, where the Mishnah continues on the theme of the Kesuvos and of the requirements of it regarding feeding her. So the Mishnah says, Nisan lebesula. We give a besula a date for when we're going to have the chuppah, 12 months, Mishatava Haba. After they get engaged, and the husband comes and says, okay, let's get married, and so they can prepare for the chuppah and get all her jewelry ready, there's a period of 12 months, that she could go ahead and prepare for herself all her jewelry, all her makeup, and all that. Now, it says the Mishnah, actually, just like they give a woman time, they give the man time to prepare himself to get the suda ready, to get the chuppah ready, and all that. Now, that's for a basula is 12 months. But a lamana, a woman that was already married once before and got widowed, so when she's getting remarried, she only needs a period of shleishim yayim because she doesn't need so much time and effort to get her jewelry because she already has. And she only needs 30 days. Mishnah continues, let's say Giyaz Man B'lei Nisu. Let's say the time comes and they didn't get married yet. Why? Because the husband is holding back, he's not ready. Why we say nisu or nisi, depends how you say it, but it's only because the ratio was talking about her, because the essential why we give the time is really for her. So the sefer was to talk about her, but really it's the husband who's holding back, that he's not ready for the chasna yet. So the halacha is now oichlis mishalei ba'oichlis b'tshuma. So she starts, he has to feed her now, and she could even need truma. So let's say the chasna is a kohen, and she's not a kohenes. The moment they really get engaged, biblically, really, she could eat truma, as the Gemara is going to explain. The Rabbanan make a gzeira that when she's engaged, she's not allowed to have. But once the 12 months already reached, then even the Rabbanan would agree that she could eat truma. But however, there's a machlekes exactly when he's feeding her this truma, how much of it is truma. Reb Tam for them, he says, Nishn hakol truma. So her chassan, who's a kohen, could give her, if he wants to, all of what he has to provide for her as truma. Now, obviously, when she's tamei, then she's not allowed to eat truma, so no problem. She goes to the market, she sells it, and then she buys chulin with it. But if he wants, he could give her, and he has to provide her, he could give it all truma. Bekiva says no, mechza chulin. He says half it has to be chulin, unconsecrated, to eat in their days of tuma. Mechza truma, the other half could be truma, like the woman's cycle. So, moreover, continues the Mishnah. Hayavam ina meichel b'truma. When the woman is shemeres yavam, if her husband died without any children, she's waiting for yibum from her brother-in-law. The Gemara will explain the reason why, that he cannot give her truma to eat. Now, moreover, says the Mishnah, let's say you're telling me that when it's 12 months, then the halacha is the husband has to start feeding her. So let's say she was engaged for 6 months out of the 12 months that from when the chassan petitioned her to say, let's get married, and then her chassan died. Obviously, they have no children. and the halacha of Yibam applies, then she spends Vashish Chadashim Fnei HaYavam, 6 months in front of the Yavam. And Vafil Kulman Fnei HaBal. Let's say 11 months and 28 days, whatever it is, then the Chassid Nebuch, a tragic accident, he dies. Chassid Yom Echad B'Fnei HaYavam, so there was all the days besides one, which was in front of the Yavam. But the Chiddush in this is that even though the majority of the 12 months was in front of her Chassid, at the end of the day, he was never obligated in feeding her because it wasn't yet 12 months. Which the truth is, as Rashi points out, even if he was obligated when he was alive already, let's say already past 12 months, she wouldn't eat from the truma when he dies, because that would remove the kinyan that the husband has once the moment he dies. It's just that if it was already all the 12 months were in front of the her chassan, then she would have at least eaten when he was alive. We're just trying to explain that she's never going to be eating truma at all. So that was even when he was alive, but of course if he does, she's not going to eat because we already said the Yavam is not Machal Truma. But we're saying we're going to these 12 months, or let's say all of it was in front of the Yavam. Let's say a day after she got engaged, the Chassan died, and she's waiting for Yibum for almost a year, which the Gemara is going to ask, why would you say this case? Obviously this case, he's not going to feed her. But be that as it may, she's not going to eat Truma. It has to be 12 months in front of the Chassan, and it won't work with the Yavam in any mixture whatsoever. Now, it says the Mishnah as follows. Through Mishnah Rishayna, this concept that we were talking about up until this point in the Mishnah is what's called the earlier Mishnah. The Mishnah was revised and redacted and was then a later version. The earlier version, it says that when it comes time for the chasna, when they already made up 12 months and they didn't get married because the chasna say, I'm not ready yet, then she eats truma. But Bezin Shalacharein, with the later courts, they said as a Getin Tam and Beis, no, it's not true. The woman will not eat truma until she actually enters into the chuppah. I don't care if it's 12 months, 14 months, 15 months, whatever it is, then she can only eat truma when she comes to chuppah, and the Gemara will explain the reason for that. But first the Gemara says, not really, where do we know this concept from that we make a 12-month period, that then that's like almost the time of getting married. So Amar Rav Chizdei says, because Amar there's a pasuk in Bereshis, it says, the brothers and sisters of Rivka said, Teshav Hanari Tanu, oh Eliezer, don't take her yet. Let the girl stay with us, Yamim Aser, days or 10 days. Now, my Yamim, what does it mean days? Either betray Yamim, which generally when you have a plural, the minimum is 2, so 2 days. Do people talk like that? Meaning, Amalei Trey Yomi, they tell them, oh, let her stay 2 days. And Amal Hulai says, no, I got to take her right away. And Amalei Asariyam, and then they say, oh, give her for 10 days? That doesn't make sense. You already said no to 2 days, obviously saying no for 10 days. What does it mean that let her stay with us a days? It means a year. So you see the principle that the girl needs a year to prepare herself for the wedding. Like it says the pasuk in Vayikra. What does it say there? It says if a man's going to sell his house in the walled city, he could redeem it until the end of the year of the sale. Yamim tiyakulasai, for days will be his redemption. So you see that shnas mem karai is referred to as yamim. So you see that yamim could mean a year. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Maybe you could say, what does yamim mean? Maybe it means chaydish. Maybe it means, what?
What's also?
Asr is 10 days. Yamim ayasr, either a year or you don't let a year, let her at least stay 10 days with us. But then the Gemara says, maybe yamim means a month, and 10 would mean 10 days. Why? Because the Chesed is in the pasuk about midbar. It says ad chaydish yamim. You see, up until a month of days. You see, yamim can mean a month too. Who said it means a year? So they said no. Done in yamim stam, the yamim stam. When it says the word yom unspecific, we learned that from another place. It says days unspecific. Both the pasuk over here, it says just the word yom. Vein done the yom stam, the yom sheyem, and then behind chaydish. We don't know that yom stam when it says here by the siblings of Lavan with Rivka, and then when it says yomim by the year, here it says yomim with the word chaydish. So it's not the same exact comparison because it has another word over there. So therefore, we're going to say it means a year, and that's how we know the Ayom Mitzvah, like we always say, that's when they would get married, because they gave 12 months, like this Masechta opened up, Psul Nis Liyam Revi, that's what the terminology, Ayom Mitzvah, because that's how long you wait for the Chasna. Now, regarding holding back the wedding, which we spoke about in the Mishnah, so the Gemara gets into a related discussion. What's the discussion? It says, Tanu Linda Braisa Katana, a young girl, a minor, whether her or her father, they could hold back from the chasna happening until she becomes an adult. So the Gemara wonders on this brisa. We understand the girl could hold back because it's her own marriage, and she doesn't want to get married as a minor. And Lavia, but her father, why? If she's okay with it, why does it bother the father? Why would he hold back the chas from happening when she's a young girl, a minor? Says you don't know what the tata knows. So he thinks, now she doesn't realize. She's like, oh, so sweet and everything's so beautiful, and she can get married. Lamachar tomorrow, and she's not going to want to brush her teeth at age 10, and her husband says, you got to do it. Mimrida. She's going to rebel in her husband, because she won't be able to tolerate being bossed around by a husband. V'nafka, she's going to leave. V'asya, and guess who she's coming to? She's coming back home to Tati. And it's going to come out, I'm going to have to give her, again, jewelry and stuff. V'nafla levai, she's going to fall on me, and therefore, no, the father can say, we're not getting married yet, we're going to wait till she becomes an adult. Now, more on this theme, Amar Rabba about Levi says, in place you don't set this concept on the girl, to marry her when she's a minor, because it's very difficult for a young girl to get married. But what you could make up regarding the minor is to marry her off when she becomes an adult, meaning when you have the girl already 3 years old, already ready for shidduchim, you could already make up, okay, when they get older, which Rashi points out, but we mean without Kedushin. But Kedushin by a minor, no, until she becomes an adult and she says, I want that man, as the Gemara says, the Kedushin Menal. So this that we're making up is we the fathers, like, we shake our hands, but there's no Kedushin happening over here because the girl has to agree when she becomes an adult. And the Gemara says, Pshita, obviously, why would that be a problem about that make up that she could get married when she becomes an adult? We're not getting her married now. Says the Gemara, no. What would you say that leichish you should be concerned? The girl is so afraid right now. She's going to get ill. She's going to get sick because she knows she's getting married. Come on, the unknown, the fear of the unknown. She's like, really, I'm going to get married? Come on, Shalom. That's the chiddush that we're saying that no, we're not concerned with that. You can make up that she can get married as long as there's no kedushin and as long as it's not to be done when she's still a minor. Now, continuing on the theme of our Mishnah regarding how much time we give the kala to prepare for the chasna. Some of Rav says, if a girl is a day over the age of 12 and a half, if she became a nara at age 12, she became pubescent and then she becomes a begeres, and then she gets engaged at 12 and a half in one day, then we only give her now 30 days like a widow from the time of the engagement. Why? Because the moment she became a begeres, she prepared her jewelry before she became a begeres, because she doesn't want to wait anymore. I'm an old maid, which, like Taisa explains, must be that the halacha of 12 months must be when she was a naira. But if you became a begeres already, I'm ready to get married, she's all prepared already. She doesn't need 12 months anymore to prepare. She only needs 30 days like a widow. That halacha of Rav Huna, the Gemara says Meisva. The Gemara says, wait a second. The Gemara has a difficulty from the Brisa. The Brisa says, Bagra, if she became a begeres, again that's at age 12 and a half, harehi ketevua. She is like, as if she was already petitioned to prepare herself for marriage. Now, my lav, meaning a begeres automatically. My lav, isn't it ketevua de besula? Like as if she was petitioned as a besula, which gets 12 months from which it gets engaged. So how can you say if she's a day over a begeres, she only needs 30 days? Becoming a begeres is like you petition like a basula. So it should start counting your clock of 12 months when you become 12 and a half. How could you say if a day after she becomes a begeres, she only needs 30 days? You're right, when she turns 12 out, she's starting to get ready. I'm going to be a kala. I'm already preparing everything, and I get my shoes, get everything. But at least give her 11 months and 29 days. Why is saying only need 30 days? So you must have lied. No, it's not true. Kitavu dalmana. When the girl becomes a begeres, she's like a widow that's petitioned, which again only needs to say 30 days. Gemara says, Tashma, the Gemara says, let's bring a right from Mishnah Mesechtes Nadar. Mishnah says, a begeres, a girl is 12 and a half, sheshasa shnei masachaydish, who waited 12 months, so now she's already 13 and a half. So he says, since now she got engaged when she's a begeres, when she was 12 and a half, and now it's already been a year, so since the husband has to feed her, like we said in the Mishnah, after 12 months he has to feed her, so then Yafar, he can nullify her vows without any partnership with the father, because generally a chassan with the father-in-law have to together nullify the vows of the kala. Now it's already been a year, now it's already all his, he can nullify himself. But one thing is that we hear from this, is that begeres also he's not obligated to feed her until 12 months. Obviously, because the halacha of preparation is 12 months for a begeres too. Not like Rav Huna who says only 30 days. So on that says the Gemara, no, Amy, you should read the Bryce like this. Actually, two different cases. Not one case of begeres shashas shneim chaydish. Instead of a shin, there should be a vav over there, or meaning besides the shin, another vav. Amy say like this. Begeres, a girl that's 12 and a half, at the end of 30 days, not as the way we read in the Mishnah, it's its own case, begeres, comma, which is 30 days. And vishashasa, and a naira, not a begeres, because it's not by katana, it's by a naira between 12 and a half. Shesata, that she waited, 12 months, that's where Rabbi Omer, and says since the husband has to feed her, so you have to get so it doesn't contradict Rav Huna. It could be begeres only needs 30 days, it's not need 12 months. So Moshe says, okay, Tashma tried to bring another raya, not like him, from the following brisa. Brisa says, if someone gets engaged to the besula, whether the husband's saying, no, let's get married, and she's holding back, or the other way around, whether she's petitioning, like, no, and the husband's holding back, because as Rashi points out, as we said in the Mishnah, the husband also is given time to prepare himself. So if any one of the parties are holding back, the halacha is, so from the time when the petitioning was, let's get married, we give 12 months. Not when the engagement happened. It's from when the one party says to the other one, says, let's get married. Then it's like, oh, okay, now we're giving our 12 months. Now, says the Breta further, and this is the main point. Now, when the girl is 12 and a half, it's like she was already asked to say, no, let's get married. Kate said, how so? If Bogra Yemechem in this Kachip, she was already 12 and a half for one day and she got engaged, you don't have to have a tviyah. Automatically, when you're already after 12 and a half, you're already like been asked, and we give you how long? 12 months. That's the question. And then the Brisa just finishes off. Ularusa, there are certain times when you're engaged that we only give you shleishim yom, which we must explain later on. I thought you said it's more than 30 days. But sometimes Narusa will get 30 days. But one thing is, Tiyuv to Rav Huna, we refer to Rav Huna because here you see clearly that the Bryce is telling us that a begeres is like a tavua, but which tavua? Not a tavua of almana. It's like she was already asked to get married without even explicitly mentioning of 12 months. So that's a refutation of Rav Huna, and you see clearly that halacha is that it's going to be 12 months, like a regular basul. So that refutes him. Now, but when the Gemara just clarifies in the Brisa, what does it mean larusa shleishim yom? For the kala, for the one who is engaged is 30 days. What does that mean? So Rav says hachi kam. Here's what the Brisa is saying. Begeres sha'avuleu shnei masal chedesh bebagres v'niskacha. Talking about a different case. Talking about the girl was not only a begeres, she's even 12 months after begeres. She's 13 and a half, and then v'niskacha, she gets engaged. Then we're going to give her 30 days from when she gets engaged, kamana, like a widow, because she already had 12 months to prepare herself, and therefore that type of an arusa, the moment she gets engaged, is going to be 30 days like that almana. Meaning, although we refer to Rav Huna said that every bageres is going to have 30 days, we disagree with that. We say it's not true. Begeres also needs 12 months. But if she's already been 12 months and only then she got engaged, then she used those 12 months to already prepare. Now she only needs 30 days to prepare, and even the Bryce would agree to that principle. Then you only need 30 days and you don't need to have 12 months. Now, we said in the Mishnah, Higiu man v'lei nisu. If let's say the time, the husband already, the chassan said no, or the kal said no, and they're like, okay, now we have 12 months to prepare, and it's already been 12 months, and they didn't get married yet, so then the husband has to feed her, and she could eat from truma. So the Gemara explains this halacha. Amar Ula. It says, Dvar Torah, according to biblical law, Arusa Bas Yisrael, a girl that gets engaged, even if she's a daughter of a Yisrael, a non-Kohen, Oicheles B'Truma, she could eat truma already. You know why? That's the pasuk in Vayikra. The pasuk says, B'Kohen, Ki Yikn Nefesh, when he's going to acquire a soul, Kinyan Kasper, it's the acquisition of his money. And the pasuk there says, that person can now eat from truma. So behind Nami, the girl that he's engaged to, Kinyan Kasper, we know that it's the acquisition of his money, gives her a ring, and she becomes his kinyan. So therefore, she could already start eating truma now also. So Mata, why did they say in Echelis that the Kala does not eat truma when she's engaged? Oh, that's for concern. Which Shema Yimzugula Kais. We're concerned that maybe the chassan is going to give, he's a kain, so he's going to give her a good truma wine that he got, some expensive vineyard in the Galilee gave him, he gets the truma from this, he gets high quality stuff, and he wants to give it to his kala. Oh, he might pour it to her when he comes to visit, by his shver, and then the siblings are like, could we have? And the brothers and sisters, it's isur l'zavim to have truma. Therefore we said that the kala cannot eat truma. Says, well, wait a second, if that's the case, how do we understand our Mishnah? He gives Mamalei Nisud, let's say the time of the chassan didn't even get married yet. Nami should also be forbidden. What should she's still home. So why does that help that it's already time for the chasna? It might give it to the siblings. So they want to know, Hassam over there, if he realizes he constantly has to give her to eat, he's removing her from her father's household, and duchta miyachela. He's designating a place for her where she's going to be from now on, getting her own apartment, because he doesn't want to lose his food that he's feeding her, because she's going to give it out to all the siblings, all the relatives are going to come and say, well, what did the chassan give today? And he's giving Uber Eats every 3 hours because everyone's coming to eat over there. No, she's not home anymore. And therefore there's no more concern. The Gemara says, if that's the case, the Gemara wants to draw a parallel to something else. Look,
so the condition is if she has her own dira or not.
That's what the Gemara sounds like, that once he becomes obligated for 12 months because that's the amount of time we give to prepare. But then we still have the concern, so not going to concern because after that he's getting her own apartment because of that reason. But then the Gemara says like a related concept type of a question. Oh, you're really concerned that people are going to give other people that they're eating with from forbidden foods for them? If that's the case, what do you do with a worker who is hired to gather the grain, who is a kohen, and he's working for a Yisrael? He comes with his lunch bag that his wife packed him, his nice truma jam that he comes with, his truma bread. He comes with his brown paper bag. He shouldn't be no truma allowed. Why? Because maybe the one he's working for, his employer, is going to say, Yosef, what do you got there in that bag? It looks pretty tempting, pretty nice. You're telling me that her brothers and her sisters are going to come and eat from it, and therefore he's not allowed truma. So how could the truma worker come with his truma lunch bag? What are you talking about? Hashta? If that's the case, mididhu safile. What are you talking about? If anything, usually the employer gives lunch to the employees. Midideh achli, you think they're going to eat from his? They're not going to eat from his. Which Taisa asks, well, what do you do it the other way? What do you do with a Yisrael worker in the house of a kohen? She says, no, we're not concerned with that either, because Taisa says that the way he describes is that he says, Taisa explains why it's different, but he says, upon them, for the worker over here, the kohen, we don't have this type of a concern. Now, this was all one interpretation why we don't have her eating truma the moment she gets engaged. Now, I think we'll give a second interpretation. Shmuel bar Rabbi Yehuda, he says that the reason why a kala cannot eat truma until, like we said in the Mishnah, he gives man the 12 months, then he has to start feeding her, then she could start eating truma. The reason originally is mishum simfain. What does simfain mean? So Rashi explains simfain is the terminology of nullification. Like a receipt, for example, which nullifies the document, is called a simfain. A blemish in the woman or in the animal that nullifies the sale is called simfain. So here we made a gezerah that the husband might find a blemish in the kala. It's going to come out that the kedushin were beta'os and therefore they were nullified. Comes out retroactively that she was a non-kohenes eating truma, and therefore we say no, a kala cannot eat truma. So he must say, wait a second. If that's the case, then even nichnas in the chuppah b'lei nivela nami. Then even if she comes to the chuppah and they didn't have bia yet, she still should not be able to eat truma there together in the yichud room, because the Gemara assumes that he doesn't recognize her blemishes yet. They weren't intimate yet. So why does the Mishnah say, even according to the Mishnah Achrayna, even when you come to the chuppah, for sure it would be difficult, he gives man of the Mishnah Rishayna. But even if he came to chuppah, why could she eat truma? He doesn't know about a blemish. He doesn't know about she's got something hiding over there that no one can see. So the Gemara says, no, Hasam over there, midlik badikla. He's not going to the chuppah if he didn't have her checked out by his relatives. Only then does he get married. When they're engaged, so you do a dating thing, you don't know much about it. But when it's coming time to get married to the chuppah, he sends people to make sure this is happening. Find out for me, what does she really like, and therefore we're not concerned anymore for simfai. But the Gemara has a related type of a question. If that's the case, Eved Kohen Shalakachai Mi Yisrael, if a Kohen has an Eved that he purchased from a Yisrael, l'leichel b'truma. That Eved should not be able to eat truma. Why not? Mishum simfein. Because you might find some type of a blemish in the Eved that you're not okay with. I don't want this guy serving me. And it turns out that it was a mekach toz, and it comes out that Eved, who has halachas like a Yisrael, at least partial, was doing an aveira by eating truma. So the Gemara says, no, simfein v'avodim leka. You don't have simfein by slaves. There's no blemish that would nullify the sale by slaves, which Taisa explains in detail regarding certain cases. But the Gemara explains like this: if it's something on the outside, he sees it, and he chose yes or not. If something on the inside, so what do you mean? What do you need the servant for? To do work for you. Say so. Like, I don't care if he's got some mole there on his lower back or some tattoo there on his thigh. What does that have to do with me? I'm not. That's not what I'm being intimate. Now, Ninsigan, let's say you find him to be a thief. All your words, we can think about Nanchasim and Al, Kiyustus, which Rashi says it's a kidnapper. Taisa says, no, it's not a kidnapper, it's something else, someone that's Mesach B'Kuvi, a gambler. But be that as a name, what's unique about a gambler? Taisa explains, but Hikiyai. So then, anyways, that's the consumer, it's his. You can't say that it's a Mekach Toys, which is a Bryce and Baba Basra and Pergamoicha Payers, that if someone sells his slave to his friend and it turns out he's a ganav or a kidnapper, it's a valid sale because we presume that these avodim are thieves. So ma'ikos, what are you left with? List of mezuyim that maybe he's an armed bandit, which is not a normal thing. Or let's say he sinned to the government and they decree that they want to execute him, and then you're going to say, oh, that would be mekach toy, so maybe we shouldn't let the avodim eat truma because we might find that out to be. But it's not true. Hanakol islu. There, word gets out if they have a bounty on his head, or if he's an armed bandit. And therefore, if he obviously knew about it and he accepted, so therefore we don't have such a concern. But the Gemara ends off now regarding these two different interpretations that we had regarding why does a kala not eat truma until he his man. The Gemara says, okay, mechli, let's see. Either way, the kala is not eating. What's the difference between these two interpretations? Is it because of she's going to give to her siblings, or is it because of something he's going to find something intimately wrong with her and therefore it's going to be a mekach tois? What's the difference? The Gemara says three differences. The difference is kibel, masar, v'halach. Kibel is if, let's say, the husband accepted upon himself any blemishes that she has. I don't care what blemishes you have. So there's no more concern for simfein because he's accepting any blemishes. But there's still a concern she might give her brothers and sisters to drink. So according to the Manda Amar of simfein, she would be able to. According to the one of Shematashka, you would not be able to. The second case is masar. If, let's say, the father gave over the kala to the agents of the husband, or v'halach, or the agents of the father went with the agents of the husband. So there's no more concern of maybe that she's going to give her brothers and sisters to drink because she's not home anymore. But there is a concern for simfein because ultimately she's not by the chassan yet, and he doesn't know who she is and what she looked like, and maybe on the journey she would not be able to have. That would be three differences between these two interpretations of why the kala is not truma when she's engaged before Giyazman. Thank you to anything.